Atya sagananjuditena rudha jatva tanashiti jajejita raja kanya nirmucha samsritri vimokshang anushmaranti padam bhujam parinina jajat aptakama mahisha uchuhu bhauman nihatya sagananjuditena rudha gyatva tanashiti jajejita raja kanya nirmucha samsritri vimokshang anushmaranti padam bhujam parinina jajat aptakama. Please chant. Mahisha uchuhu bhauman nihatya sagananjuditena rudha gyatva tanashiti jajejita raja kanya nirmucha samsritri vimokshang anushmaranti padam bhujam parinina jajat aptakama mahisha uchuhu bhauman nihatya sagananjuditena rudha gyatva tanashiti jajejita raja kanya nirmucha samsriti vimokshang anushmaranti padam bhujan parinina jajat aptakama. Mahisha uchuhu bhauman nihatya sagananjuditena rudha gyatva tanashiti jajejita raja kanya nirmucha samsriti vimokshang anushmaranti padam bhujam parinina jajat aptakama mahisha uchuhu. The other queens said, Bauman, the demon Bauma, Nihatya, killing, Sa, along with Ganam, his followers. Yudhi, in battle. Tena, by him, Bauma. Rudaha, imprisoned. Gyatva, knowing. Atha, then. Naha, us. Shiti Jaye, during Bauma's conquest of the earth. Yita defeated Raja of kings, Kanyaha, the daughters, Nirmucha, releasing Samsriti from material existence, Bimoksham, the sword of liberation, Anusmaranti, constantly remembering Pada Ambujayam, his lotus feet, Parininaya, Mary, Jaha, who, Aptakamaha, already fulfilled in all desires. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rohini Devi, speaking for the other queens, said, after killing Baumasura and his followers, the Lord found us in the demon's prison and could understand that we were the daughters of the kings whose Bauma has defeated during his conquest of the earth. The Lord set us free, and because we had been constantly meditating upon his lotus feet, the source of liberation from material entanglement, he agreed to marry us, though his every desire is already fulfilled. Purport. Rohini Devi was one of the 9 queens questioned by Draupadi in texts 6 and 7, and thus it is assumed that she speaks here representing the 16,099 other queens. Srila Prabhupada confirms this in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 41 and 42, translation. O saintly lady, we do not desire dominion over the earth, the sovereignty of the King of heaven, unlimited facility for enjoyment, mystic powers, the position of Lord Brahma, immortality, or even attainment of the kingdom of God. We simply desire to carry on our hearts the glorious dust of Lord Krishna's feet, enriched by the fragrance of kumkuma from his consort's bosom. Purport. The verb Raj means to rule, and from it are derived the words Samsrajam, meaning rulership over the entire earth, and Swarajam means rulership over heaven. Baujam comes from the verb bhuj, to enjoy, and thus refers to the capacity of enjoying whatever one's desire. Virat is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti as representing the phrase Vividvan virajate, quote, one enjoys many kinds of opulences, and specifically indicating the 8 mystic perfections of anima and so on. An alternative explanation of these terms is given by Srila Sridhar Swami, who says that according to the Bahu Richa Brahmana, these 4 terms designate the power of sovereignty over each of the four cardinal directions. Samsraja for the east, Bauja for the south, Saraja for the west, and Vairaja for the north. Lord Krishna's queens clearly state that they do not desire any of these powers, or even the position of Brahma, liberation, or entrance into the kingdom of God. They simply want the dust of Sri Krishna's feet, which goddess Sri herself worshiped. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti tells us that the goddess of fortune mentioned here is not Lakshmi, the consort of Narayana. After all, the Acharyas explains, goddess Lakshmi could not obtain the direct association of Krishna even after performing extended austerities. As Uddhava states, Nayan Srijonga U Nitanta Rate Prashadaha. Shriman Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 47, text number 60. Rather, Sri refers here, rather the Sri referred to here is the supreme goddess of fortune identified by the Briha Gautamiya Tantra. Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. Translation: the transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure of all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Romapada Swami Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaura Bani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. There are some wonderful purports on the first verse that we read, number 40, is spoken by Queen Rohini Devi. The Queen Rohini Devi that is spoken here is not Rohini Devi, the mother of Lord Balaram. This is Rohini Devi, one of the 16,108 queens of Lord Krishna. And she is one of the 16,100 queens that were captured by this demon, Bhaumasura. Bhaumasura was the son of Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, and Lord Varahadev. But due to bad association, even the son of the personality of Godhead, by bad association, he became a big time demon. And the pastime of the killing of Bhamasura was narrated many chapters ago. But anyway, Rohini Devi mentioned here is one of those 16,100 princesses that were captured there. And she was rescued by the Lord. So there is there's a very important theme and a very important principle to understand. Yesterday, same thing was being brought out by Queen Lakshmana and discussed yesterday in Krishna Archana's class. The, the principle of receiving liberation directly from Krishna. That Krishna is addressed as Mukunda, the giver of liberation. And Queen Lakshmana, out of humility, she expressed that Krishna, the giver of liberation, Mukunda, by his grace, he have given her this freedom from material existence. And in her humility, she understood or she thought that to be the recipient of such fortune, I must have performed so many wonderful austerities in my previous life to be able to qualify for receiving this very special um, position. But there is a specific detail that the acharyas highlight to make us understand what is the position or what is the principle by which these devotees are, or any one of us, or rather to say, let me put it this way, what is the real purpose of austerity, and um, what is the real definition of liberation? So they highlight this point. When Queen Lakshmana, she said that by Krishna's mercy, I've been free from material existence. It must have been by my austerities in my previous life. And by that great fortune, I have become his maid servant. So the position of being the humble servant of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the eternal position of that's the definition of liberation. That is a supreme position of liberation. When one becomes connected in loving service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Here, in the same way, Queen Rohini is basically saying the same thing. She said that Mukunda also, the source of liberation from material entanglement, he agreed to marry us. He agreed to accept us as his queens. Why? Because they're constantly meditating on his lotus feet. So this principle of taking shelter on the lotus feet of the Lord in loving service is the actual definition of liberation. Anything else doesn't fall into this understanding of liberation. Even impersonal liberation. Impersonal liberation is not really liberation. That's why the devotees of the Lord reject impersonal liberation. Impersonal liberation is explained by the Vedas personify that is a position that one may obtain after great penances and austerities. Very, very difficult penances and austerities. And as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, thousands and thousands of births performing such austerity, then even if you get to that position of liberation, you will fall down again because you haven't taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So the principle of liberation equates to being situated in the lotus feet of the Lord. This is explained again in the prayers when Krishna appeared in the prison house of Kamsa. Actually, he hasn't appeared yet, but he was within the womb of Devaki. All the Vedas personify. They came to offer prayers, and in their prayers, there's two very famous verses in which the first one of this verse, the Vedas, they glorify the lotus feet of the Lord as the means to actually cross the ocean of material existence. And then the devotees are the fortunate recipients of that mercy, and they actually take that process of shelter, of having the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord as a boat that allows one to cross the ocean of material existence. And that is the method of becoming free, of liberation. That's what they explain. This is what the translation of this verse is. This is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, text number 31. O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee, and therefore you are known as a desired tree, Bancha Kalpataru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet in order to cross the fierce ocean of nations, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. So this is a beautiful understanding. The devotees, the acharyas, they're fully situated in the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, they know us. They're glorified with the titles of Prabhupada, or Vishnupad, or Krishnapad. You know, they are situated in the lotus feet of the Lord. And with that, in that lotus feet, they cross the ocean. And that is the method. But they make sure that those lotus feet are available or remain there for all other devotees to jump in and being able to cross. So the lotus feet of the Lord is glorified like this. Queen Rohini said, we always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we receive his very special mercy. He came to free us from this miserable condition of being imprisoned by Baumasura. And he accepted us as his queens. He married all of us. And he married all of us and fulfilled, although Krishna doesn't have desires to fulfill, the devotee desire to be in the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, birth after birth. They say that in the next verse. It's very beautiful. In the same way that Lord Chaitanya says, Nada Nandanya Nanda Sundarin, Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaje Mama, Jammani Jammanishware. Birth after birth. I don't want anything of this opulence, all these positions, all these things. I just want birth after birth. Jammani Jammanishware Bhavaktat Bhaktir Ahaituki Toye. This Ahaituki Bhakti, unmotivated devotional service, pure devotional service. That's all I want. And then in the next verse, Ajinanda Karuna, Ajinanda, now I have a blank. Ajinanda Tanuja King Karam. He say, oh my Lord, I have fallen into this ocean of material existence. Although I'm your eternal servitor, I have fallen into this ocean. Please pick me up from this ocean of birth and death and place me as one of the dust, particle, not one of the particle of dust on your lotus feet. That's the position of the devotee. That's a position, that's a desire of the devotees. They don't want anything but that. So all these princesses, that was their meditation. And Krishna fulfilled the desire. The Vedas personified in the next verse, they say this very famous. Prabhupada quotes, this is one of the most quoted verses of Srila Prabhupada. Jenye Ravindaksha Vimuda Vimukta Maninas Twayi Ashta Baba Avishuddha Bhutaya Aruhyo Krichena Padam Tata Patanti Ado Nadrita Jushman Angrajaha. Prabhupada translate this in brackets to explain who is being referred here to in this verse. He says, someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek the shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for obtaining salvation. What happened to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, actually, I'm sorry, and correct what I said before. This is not the Vedas personified. This is the demigods headed by Lord Brahma offering prayers to Krishna within the womb. So that's the correction of this chapter. So here's the demigods speaking, headed by Lord Brahma. So there are other transcendentalists who are following another method. What is the method that we're referring here? The method of taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. That's the method that the acharyas accept as the means for obtaining liberation. Being at the lotus feet of the Lord. But someone may say, there's other transcendentalists. They may not be devotees of the Lord, and they accept some other process for salvation. What happened to them? What happened? And then the response comes from this prayer that Lord Brahma and the demigods were offered. He said, O lotus-eyed Lord, O the non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penance to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated. Their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So you know, the key is accepting the lotus feet of the Lord. Whatever you do in terms to achieve what you think is the highest position that you want to obtain. And this is a principle that applies in all spheres of material life. There, there are different uh, goals of life that are explained in the Vedas, within the Vedas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And you may obtain the highest position that you may think within Dharma. Dharma is followed in the Vedas, in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, is explained that Dharma you follow to elevate yourself to the heavenly planets. Artha, material opulence. Material opulence is to enjoy sovereign, sovereignty, sovereignty over the material world. Kama, sense gratification, to enjoy heavenly pleasures, to enjoy the opulence, heavenly opulence, to enjoy the heavenly position. And then moksha, liberation from all that, liberation from material existence. All of this can be achieved without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. However, because it is described that this is a position, this position, or this supreme position that people may think that is not connected to the lotus feet of the Lord, is a position that is considered imaginary. It's only within the mind. So people that are non-devotees, they think within their mind that this is the position that they want. This is the highest position. But they're wrong, because this imaginary becomes imaginary because their intelligence is vimukta maninas. No, sorry, it's abhishuddha buddhaya. Shuddha means pure, and buddhaya means intelligence. Abhishuddha is very impure intelligence. Not just impure intelligence, but very impure intelligence. Avishuddha, very impure intelligence. This very impure intelligence is what disconnects you from the lotus feet of the Lord. And therefore, by impure intelligence, you create within your mind a supreme goal for yourself. But that's imaginary. And to achieve that supreme goal, you have to work very hard. You have to really labor by austerities, by severe austerities and penances. And after doing that, these people who have not taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, even transcendentalists, they achieve that position, but that position, they will fall down from that position because of not accepting the lotus feet of the Lord. So we have the situation in which conditioned souls become free from material existence. In other words, they merge by the desire into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. But because they do not take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, patanti ado, they fall down. So that is not what these queens are telling us. They're actually highlighting, they're taking the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, being fully situated there, being constantly, Queen Rohini say, constantly meditating. The word that she used is anusmaranti padaambujam. Anushmaranti, constantly remember his lotus feet. So that is the important thing. And that's the only thing that devotees desire. There's something, the way Prabhupada narrate this part, this uh, narration, or this prayer, or this expression of Queen Rohini is very beautiful. I read it. Prabhupada in Krishna book. My dear Queen, so she's addressing, Rohini is addressing Draupadi. My dear Queen, when Bhamasura was conquering all the world, he collected whenever possible all the beautiful daughters of the kings and kept us arrested within his palace. When news of our imprisonment reached Lord Krishna, he fought with Bhamasura and released us. Lord Krishna killed Bhamasura and all his soldiers, and although he had not need to accept even one wife, he nevertheless, by our request, married all 16,000 of us. My dear Queen, our only qualification was that we were always thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, which is the way to release oneself from the bondage of repeated birth and death. My dear Queen Draupadi, please take it from us that we are not after any opulence, such as kingdom, an empire, or position of heavenly enjoyment. We do not want to enjoy such material opulences, nor do we desire to achieve the yogic perfections, nor the exalted pose of Lord Brahma, nor do we want any of the different kinds of liberation, Sarupya, Salokya, Sharthi, Samipya, and or Sayuya. We are not at all attracted by any of these opulences. Our only ambition is to bear on our heads, life after life, the dust particles attached to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The goddess of fortune also desired to keep that dust on her breast, along with fragrant saffron. We simply desire this dust, which accumulates underneath the lotus feet of Lord Krishna as he travels on the land of Vrindavan as a cowherd boy. The gopis especially, and also the cowherd men and the aborigine tribeswomen, always desire to become the grass and straw on the streets of Vrindavan, to be trampled on by the lotus feet of Krishna. My dear Queen, we wish to remain as such life after life without any other desire. So that sums up, and that's what Lord Chaitanya gives us to meditate in the Shikshastika prayers. The prayer that we can recite regularly. That, O, o son of Maharaj Nanda, uh, O Krishna, what is it? Well, that I do not desire, um, um, how's it go? Um, Nadanan. I don't want followers. I don't want wealth. I don't want a beautiful partner or wife or husband. I only want, or any kind of opulence. I only want birth after birth, your unconditional devotional service, birth after birth. Like that. So I stop here. Any comments or questions?
It struck me, just in the ending part where you were reiterating Lord Chaitanya's, the similarity with Lord Chaitanya's prayer to this prayer said by Queen Rahini of just desiring to be, have the dust on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Uh, uh, in the text 41 through 42 is mentioned that uh, uh, there's recognition that that same dust is enriched by the fragrance of kumkum from his consort's bosom. So it's actually quite extraordinary because she's a wife of Lord Krishna, or she's in that role, or as they humbly see themselves as maidservants of Lord Krishna. And there's recognition of the exalted position of Srimati Radharani, that the dust is actually giving, receiving fragrance from the kumkum from her breast. So I just thought it was extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for pointing out that. Yeah, it's very beautiful. And it tells, you know, the devotional position of all these queens. And it tells also that, the absolute truth is Radha and Krishna. And that is the supreme, that is the full absolute truth. Krishna and his potency together. Radha and Krishna. So yes, yes. So taking that, being that position, that vehicle, that means to actually obtain freedom from this material world is the combined mercy of Radha and Krishna. Yeah, it's very nice observation, and it's very beautiful. The 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 imagery, and it's nice that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also help us understand that this refers to Shrimati Radharani. It's very nice. Any other question? I think the microphone is not on.
The birth
I-
during the baby being in the womb, you spoke on that, right?
yeah.
And it was giving orders, or how would it say, instructing. Is that true?
No, no, no. The demigods will come into the prison cell, and there's Devaki pregnant with Krishna within her womb,
Right.
and the demigods will offer prayers, will come and visit and offer prayers to Krishna within the womb. So it's the demigod speaking in glorification of Krishna.
Okay. Because I wanted to clarify that. But of course, Krishna is capable of doing it. So I wanted to clarify. Um, you went to the 10th canto, you went to chapter 10 for a little while, did you?
Mm-mm.
Explain. So let's get back to the lotus feet and moksha and all of that. Because I didn't, when I was looking at it, it speaks on different yogis. Now, how in the world could they have so many yogis? So you're saying the supersede, it's okay to supersede our routine of getting to a point of not becoming rotated and because if you focus on the lotus feet or the service, the pure devotional service, I wanted to clarify which would be most holy.
To focus on the lotus feet
Okay, you were
or devotional service.
okay. So pure devotional service versus worshiping the pure lotus feet, um, or let's just ask, which would be the most accelerated process? Because we know we can chant and we can do so many tasks. So you had spoke on that. So I wanted you to clarify.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Well, they all consider pure devotional service as a nine process of devotional service. One of them is worshiping the lotus feet. So there's Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, which is, worshiping the lotus feet. So hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, Dasyam, being a servant of the Lord, Dasyam, Sakyam, becoming a friend with the Lord, um, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything to the Lord. And then there's another one, Archanam, worshiping the Lord. And one more, and praying, Vandanam. So these are all the nine processes. It is explained that all of them are can give you liberation. Now, although the imagery that we're hearing here is taking shelter on the lotus feet of the Lord means, that you are, yeah, you're surrendering. It's more like, here's the vehicle, it's loving service to the Lord. And when you serve the Lord, the imagery of the lotus feet is that you submit yourself as a humble servant. That is explained that by Queen Rohini, that you want to even be in a blade of grass to receive that dust from his feet. So the devotee always have this imagery of being engaged in devotional service and by being a humble servant of the Lord. Humble. So the lotus feet puts that position or clarify that position. We're humble servants of the Lord. Now, that's that understanding, but even within the nine process of devotional service, there is one of them that is directly at worshiping the Lotus feet. And then the greatest example of worshiping the Lotus feet or serving the Lotus feet of the Lord is Lakshmi Devi, who is constantly at the Lotus feet of the Lord, massaging his Lotus feet. So that's her position in the spiritual world. So she's constantly serving the Lotus feet of the Lord, specifically serving the Lotus feet of the Lord. But what the acharyas tell us, because your question was, what is the most powerful and direct? In this age of Kali, the most powerful and direct one is Shravan and Kirtana, hearing and chanting. So the hearing and chanting, and Prabhupada explains that although in the system of devotional service that is being given to us by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, six Oswamis of Vrindavan, uh, we are being given all the nine processes. So when you're being trained here in the temple, we're practicing all the nine processes of devotional service. But the dominant is hearing and chanting, because when we do the other seven process, we're engaged also automatically in hearing and chanting. So uh, remembering the Lord pastimes and remember the Lord by what? By hearing and chanting. So say, for example, as we sit down from Bhagavatam, we hear and chant, and with that, afterwards you remember. So, it is connected. While you serve in the lotus feet of the Lord, if you're a pujari, one of the things that you do in a daily basis is massage the lotus feet of the Lord with scented oils. So, but you do that, when you do that, you have to chant mantras. You have to chant, and the mantras are names of the Lord. So you're chanting while by performing that activity. When you pray, you say the prayers that are there in glorification of the Lord. So anyway, all of this process involve hearing and chanting. So hearing and chanting is our main.
With most of the prayers, there's a purification process, just as when we're chanting. I know when whatever we're doing, if we're going to do the Srimad Bhagavatam class where we have a prayer. And so all of those prayers are to more so sanctify the activity that's going to follow, correct?
Yeah, well, everything we do in devotional service that we're being guided by our acharyas is meant to purify us. But for us, one of the most, so we have this combination, especially very important in Kali Yuga and very, very relevant for us, that is being given by Srila Prabhupada, that chanting the holy name is a means for purification. Hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam is a powerful means for purification. And to be able to do these two, then you need to be engaged in deity worship. So deity worship becomes, is what will allow us to actually being able to um, to constantly to develop, the proper mood in which we can actually hear and chant without offenses. So deity worship is a very, very important aspect.
So your description of deity worship, let me just say for me,
This is the last question.
okay.
So let's.
Um, so just like right now it's quiet, and let's say there was not a class, and you're specifically at the altar, and you are communicating or saying prayers or asking or offering flowers or incense or whatever. That's what you would say is the deity worship. Of course, if you have the deity's home, that's what you're speaking of in general, correct?
There's also within, so there is a pujari who is performing a artik, but there's also the devotees who are singing for the deities, dancing for the deities. That's all included in deity worship. So it that we receive all that, and obviously that the combination of all these things, these five very powerful principles that Srila Rupa Goswami said, chanting the holy name, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, worshiping the deities, and living in a holy place. These are the five most prominent and powerful means to purify oneself. So, we've been given that by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I stop here. Thank you so much for your attention. Grantara Sriman Bhagavatam Ki Jai.